Hello, everybody, both on Zoom and on Facebook. Welcome to our sixth installment of Wednesday Weekly Skillshare, a program all about learning a new life skill or general life hack during your time at Pacific. Today's session is all about Voting 101 with Marylou. My name is Amber Mateer. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the graduate assistant of competitive sports and outdoor programming at Pacific Recreation, and I will be today's moderator and every Wednesday's moderator. This session will be recorded for later posting to our YouTube channel at Pacific Recreation. So if you miss any of these live sessions, you can always hit us up on our YouTube playlist for all of our Wednesday weekly Skillshares. If you have any questions throughout today's session, either on Zoom or on Facebook, just drop them in the comment box and I'll ask them at the end of the presenter's time. Also for Pacific affiliated folks, I will be putting in a little WWOOFU check-in form. It takes about 30 seconds just to count yourself in attendance for today's session. You can do that whenever it is easiest for yourself. As a future plug, next week's session will be at 3:30 on Wednesday, featuring Andrew Ligo Yarn, and he will be going over candle making and basic spell casting, just in time for the spooky season. So at this time, I will hand the virtual microphone over to Marylou.
So hey there, folks in the Facebook Zoom universe. My name is Marylou Bagus-Hansen. I use she, they pronoun series. And it's National Voter Education Week, which is fantastic. It is the inaugural National Voter Education Week. If you were following almost anything on the university's Instagram on the 22nd, you knew it was National Voter Registration Day. And we had lots of folks sharing why they vote and why they got registered. And then this week we are getting folks ready to hit the polls. November 3rd is election day, but don't be fooled, that is the end of the election. You can vote now. There are already 5.6 million votes submitted already. So do not be late to the party. That being said, like I said, it's National Voter Education Week. And so we've got lots of fun stuff planned. For folks to be able to view and educate themselves about the best ways that they can submit their ballot and get educated about what's on the ballot. But with that, I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to start with our friends at ASUOP. And so I am using Instagram on the computer, which is highly unusual. So ASUOP has started this digital campaign called Pacific to the Polls, and they're going to, with us and a few other folks around campus, help us promote the elections and voting, and why is it important. Some other, and so they've got Pacific to the Polls here as the launch that they launched on the 22nd. They're talking a little bit about the census, which was a point of contention because our president, due to the pandemic, thought it would be best to end it early at the end of September, and then a federal judge decided that's not appropriate either, so extended a little bit longer. And then a reminder to check your registration from Pacific to the Polls. And so one of the ways that we suggest checking your registration, our favorite site is actually iamavoter.com or .org. Either one will take you there. And you can get registered, you can check your voter registration status, and you can sign up for election reminders. I Am a Voter is really great because it will serve all of the states and territories for the US. There are multiple sites that you can go to for each thing. I Am a Voter has landed it all in one page for folks, and then it sends you to the right place. So most folks will register to vote on TurboVote. That's like the premier one, and it'll send you to your different state Secretary of State's offices to make sure you get the right information for your state. And then checking your status will go to vote.org, and then you can sign up for reminders, and they'll send you a text message for the reminders too. They also give you some information about your specific states if you need it. So if you scroll down a little bit, you can click. I will do California just because that is the state I'm sitting in. And then you can jump down here to the California election changes that they signed. Governor Newsom had signed an executive order providing mail-in election for all of the elections. And then again, more information by states. Colorado made no changes comparatively. And so it really depends. Connecticut, they ended up pushing their primary election to later in August. That's usually earlier April, May. And so it really depends on your state. And so it's one of the blessings and curses of our democratic system is that it changes at the local level. And so at the local and state level. So you want to make sure that you get the right bits that you need for your state and county. And so, like I said, we'll go back to I Am a Voter. The other thing that's cool about I Am a Voter, if you just need something quick, their Instagram is super easy to use. And they send out a lot of cool stuff, a lot of I'm a Voter. It's a nonpartisan movement. It is hosted by the Hollywood Entertainment Agency, which we kind of like. Last year's Homecoming Arts Kiana Lede, she is a partner for them, and she's doing a whole new voter series with them because she just turned 18. And so she can just start voting. And so that's pretty cool. But they also have some information here on the highlights about your states. But a cool one that I like is actually this voter FAQ. So things that every college student should know. If you moved into California to go to Pacific, you can choose to vote in California, or you can choose a different state, the state you came from. So it really depends, but you want to make sure to grab those deadlines. The two reasons student ballots get kicked back and are disqualified is because the signature doesn't match what's on file. And on file typically means what's on your driver's license. That's the file. And then because you didn't turn it in on time, it hit that mailbox the day after. It's not going to count because that postmark is going to say November 4th and not November 3rd. And so that's how it gets a little bit funny. If you're not old enough, some states do allow pre-registration. California is one of them. So let's say you turn 18 on November 2nd. Pre-register. They will send you your stuff by November 3rd so you can still vote in the election. Okay. So that's important too. I've lost my screen. I apologize. And then, like I said, it's National Voter Education Week. And so the way that the National Foundation has designed the week is that we are doing, each day is a day of action. So Monday was Vote Ready. If you missed your chance to get your registration in on the 22nd on voter registration day, you had another shot on it on 10/5, excuse me. 9 states closed their registration on 10/5. And then we found out Arizona and Florida both extended their registration deadlines. So check. I believe you have until the end of October for Arizona. Florida, you have until 7 p.m. Florida time today. So if anyone is near Orlando, check your registration, get registered. And then yesterday was mail ready. So if you wanted an absentee ballot, if you wanted it, like I said, if you want an absentee ballot or a mail-in ballot, those terms are kind of used interchangeably. Then it was the day to request your mail-in ballot. It's not the only day, but it's the action that they're promoting that day. And then there are some questions if you have any questions about it. At the Volunteer Center, we are posting videos approximately 2 o'clock every day with some of this information. So feel free to peruse our Instagram. Amber, if you can drop that IG link in the chat, I would appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am. And then today is Vote Plan Ready. And what that means is, do you know how you're voting, where you're going, and what you need to bring with you? Too often in previous elections, folks know that they have federally mandated 2 hours to vote. So you can take 2 hours off your workday and you can go vote. Well, that looks vastly different given the pandemic. A lot of folks have their mail-in ballot. Mine's right here. What's up? It's blank right now, and that's okay because I have research to do. And so you want to come up with your plan. Your polling locations have most likely changed. Like 99.8% it's changed. The NBA, the players boycott resulted in stadiums becoming polling places so that we could do the social distancing and things can remain safe for folks. San Joaquin County is doing a week of in-person voting, not just day of, right? So think of November 3rd again as the last day of the election, not the election day. And so you want to pay attention. The San Joaquin ballot is actually pretty nice because they have and something new that hasn't been done in previous elections or in as many previous elections is that they have official drop box ballot drop boxes. And so San Joaquin, they included drop box locations in ours and then the polling locations in ours. San Joaquin County polls open on Halloween. You can go cast your ballot and then get yourself a treat somewhere safe on Halloween if you'd like. I don't know how they would feel if you showed up in a costume though, so check that. Probably frowned upon, just saying, because they got to verify your face a little bit. And then, or they don't want you to scare other voters. Either one's fine. But also making sure that you have what you need. Some states, they require you to bring ID or your sample ballot so they know that you're in the right precinct. So it really just depends. And then tomorrow is Ballot Ready Day. And Ballot Ready Day is really important because you know where you're going, you have requested your absentee ballot, you are registered. How are you voting? That is the day that we hope folks start to do their research. Some of our favorite sites are ballotpedia.org. I'm actually going to type that sucker in. And this is a nonpartisan site, and you can search every state. They have information for the 100 most populous cities or metros in the country as well. So you can get information on your local elections too, if you needed to. In California, there are 13 ballot propositions. You can refer back to the Volunteer Center's Instagram Live from 9/25. We talked about what each type of ballot measure meant. Was it a tax referendum? Was it initiated by the legislature, or was it initiated by a petition of the people? Some of it is overturning old propositions. So it really depends, and it matters that you know what you're voting for and how you want to vote, right? And Ballotpedia is really great because it kind of gives you a subject line on it, so you can decide how deep you want to go looking. So for instance, this VR Prop 25 is actually a little bit confusing because it replaces cash bail with a risk referendum. So the folks that put this on the ballot, they're actually voting no because they still want there to be a system in place. They just don't think the system that's in place is right. So it's confusing, and it's important to do the research. California, there's kind of a lot of propositions on the ballot this time around, and that's okay. But it's also important to vote down the ballot. And what it means when you vote down the ballot is the top ticket on this ballot is the presidential election, but you don't want to just vote for that and leave everything empty. You want to vote down your whole ballot because yes, the president's going to tweet something, and a lot of things that directly impact you are not made at his decision level or their decision level. It's made by your county supervisors, by your school boards, by your governors. That's the stuff that really is going to impact you directly in your daily life. So you want to make sure to vote down that ballot. And then on Friday is, going back. Okay. Friday is We Ready 2020. And that one's cool because you did all of this prep work for you to be ready to vote. How do you make sure your homie is ready to vote? Your parents, your sisters, your siblings, nibblings. If you did not know nibbling was a word, it's like your niece and nephews. Um, sorority, your Greek fam, like all of them. How do you know that they're ready to vote too? And so bring folks with you. There are lots of different activation methods to do that. A fun one is actually vote forward if folks are interested. Vote forward, which is kind of cool. Vote forward it encourages folks to send letters to folks that don't typically vote. And so they made a goal of 10 million letters, and they hit it last week. So now the new goal before the election is 15 million letters. So you can be a part of this and volunteer to write letters to voters to increase election turnout. You can do postcards, you can do whatever you need to. They have template letters. Folks are doing phone banking. If you go back to Voter Education Week, there's some information there about couch banking. So you sit on your couch and you text your friends. What questions do you have? Can I help you get registered? This is the site I use. And it's really easy. So it really just depends on how civically engaged you want to be. It is one thing to use your own voice. It is another thing to encourage other people to use their voice. And with that, that is my spiel. I will take whatever questions anybody has.
Jasmine, do you have any questions? I know you're in live attendance and I might be putting you right on the spot, but do you have any questions or clarifications that you want about voting?
I wish I did. Marylou has just been so great about civic engagement, and I've been really involved with some of the plans. So actually, on Friday, you can learn more about ballots. So check that out too.
I got you, Jasmine. Hold on. There you go.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice.
You can RSVP on our Instagram and our link tree. I will also try to stream this on Instagram. I don't know how good I'm going to be, but we will try.
Gotcha.
So there's that one. And then there's another one on the 23rd as well. And February 20, not February. I don't know where I got February from. October 21st, the McGeorge School of Law is doing a California Initiative Forum in the evening. And they will, so Jasmine's going to go over just a couple of the ballot measures, the propositions that are on the California ballot. And we'll go over another few of them on the 23rd. But on the 21st, they're going to go through all 12. And they will talk it through, who's for what, who paid to put it on the ballot. Do you want to be supporting them? All sorts of things. So you can find that information on calendar.pacific.edu.
I guess the one question is that, can you sort of help define for voters, like what are referendums, what are measures, what does it actually mean in terms of like city governments, state governments, national governments, and like yeah.
So really, they're kind of all the same thing. They're kind of not the same thing, right? In California, once they get onto your ballot, they're all propositions. They're just different types of propositions, which is what Ballotpedia will tell you. And again, refer back to our IG video from 925, because sometimes it's a state statute. There can be in California, there can be a state statute that amends the state constitution. There can be ones that are law driven, so it might change or adjust a law. And both of those things can be legislatively driven or people driven. And so there's a two, and then there's offshoots of each of the two. So sometimes you'll see folks standing outside asking for you to sign a petition. That's what they're doing, right? You can also do a veto referendum, which is Prop 25, the same way. You can petition to get that on the ballot. You have to get a certain number of signatures by a certain time, and then have all of the text done so that it can be published in the sample ballot and voter information guide for it to get on there. Sometimes some of those things will get on a primary election. So California had a March primary, and so you put it on the primary, and it has to get a certain number of votes to make it to the state, or to make it onto the state ballot, because then it shows that the folks are still interested in it. It wasn't just one person paying a lot of money to get it on there. It's more than this small group of people in, let's just call it Bakersfield. Much love to Bakersfield, right? So that's one of the differences. And then there are also, so constitutional changes, law changes, referendums, taxes. Taxes is a big one, right? And so that there is one that is tax based on the books, and taxes. All of those things can be levied at the different levels. So everything you see on your state ballot, everything that Jasmine's going to talk about on Friday, those are state-wide initiatives. But you also want to check your county's ballot, because they may have a county-specific measure on there. I'm perusing my ballot to see if there's one for San Joaquin County. There is. Okay. See, it's going to tell you county specific, right? Mine's still blank, so I have no problem showing it to you. But so there will be county specific things. There are also going to be county specific offices. Your supervisors, your county supervisors, your again, here in Stockton, you vote for the Delta trustees, the board of trustees for Delta College, right? That's their response. That's their equivalent to Pacific's regions, if you will. And those folks are elected. And so you want to play through all of those scenarios. Again, Ballotpedia will have candidate information for the 100 largest metro areas in the country. But you can always go to your Secretary of State's website for additional up-to-date information if you don't live in one of the most populous cities as well. And I mean, folks don't see how that makes a difference, right? Like your county supervisors versus your mayors and things. But so you have a mayor or a city council, but then you also have unincorporated areas of your county that need services. If a student gets kicked out of school, they're still entitled to an education. So they might be kicked out of a district. Well, that's when the county office of education steps in and they educate that student, and that county educate, was it San Joaquin County superintendent, he's an elected official. And so playing through all of those things make a difference. Oh, Jasmine thought of a question. What advice would you give to international students or other people who won't be voting in the US election, but want to be involved? So there's a couple of different things. One, at the Volunteer Center, we're trying to start a civic convos video series, asking international students or folks that have recently immigrated, are folks in your country, are you paying attention to the election and why? We'd love a little bit of background on what the election or what the government system is like in your home country. But then, does it matter to you what's going on here? Does it make a difference around what import tariffs are implemented for your country? Is the US an ally to your home country? What does that look like, right? Students that are all like folks that are also international students or DACA students, they can still volunteer with a candidate, talking up, voting with folks with an issue if there's something that they're passionate about. Stem cell research is something that's on the ballot, if you will. So if folks have a bend either way, they can still participate in those referendum, even though they're not eligible to vote in it. They can still make a difference by getting. So I'm not eligible to vote in it, but I got 5 other people to vote the way I wanted to. So you still have a voice in the system.
Absolutely. I think we'll wrap it up with one last question of why do you vote? And I'm asking that only because I know we heard from a lot of students this week of like why they vote. So why do you vote, Marylou?
I vote because there was a time in this country when Filipino Americans were second-class citizens. Like Filipino Americans could freely go back and forth between the US and the Philippines because the Philippines was a territory of the United States, but they had no right to vote. There was nothing protecting them. And so there's a shirt that some immigrant families or first-gen students will wear that says, "I am my ancestors' wildest dreams." And so if I do not exercise my voice in those ways, then I am doing a complete disservice to my immigrant story and the folks that decided that they were going to do a thing. And my immigrant story is actually a pretty recent story compared to other folks because I am considered Gen Zero because I was born here and my parents were not. So if I expect other folks to do it and I have an opportunity to do it, then I will. It's also interesting because my mother is born a U.S. citizen, but she's a U.S. born citizen abroad because my grandfather was a U.S. citizen because he joined the U.S. military. That's one of the things that colonialism does. And so she didn't have full rights in the Philippines either because she wasn't a Philippine citizen either. And she didn't learn that until she tried to graduate from college. And there was a whole mess about it. And she was well educated, but she couldn't use her degree in either country because she didn't take the right test. And so it's important for me to vote and to use that piece of power, if you will, because I know that other folks couldn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story. Really appreciate that. And we are just right on time. So that will finish our little Q&A session. So yeah, I want to extend just again the gratitude for your time coming on here and sharing your information, experiences, and passion for voting. Every week I just get to see a little snippet of people's just like little fun things about themselves. So really appreciate that. And thanks Jasmine for hopping on here too. Yeah, so again, next week, 3:00, we'll be doing candle making. And until next time, have a good rest of your day. Thank you again, Marylou. Appreciate it.